morning, Quadcopter 101 here, and today's shout out goes to Hitman POWMIA. Hitman POWMIA was first to say first in one of my recent videos, and thus wins this shout out, so congratulations. Good morning, Quadcopter 101 here, with a review of another neat RC aircraft. This is the XK K127 helicopter, 4-channel helicopter, meant for beginner flyers. That's what's cool about it. That's what I kind of like. I like to see drones that are drones and RC products meant for beginners. Keep in mind the Quadcopter 101 channel is dedicated to beginner flyers, bringing beginner flyers into the hobby of RC aircraft. So, the XK K127, what is it? Again, I mentioned it is a 4-channel beginner's RC aircraft. When I say 4-channel, that means it has control of throttle for up and down movement. It has control of rudder or yaw for right and left turning, along with control of pitch and roll. Now, the thing about this is, it weighs only 51 grams, which means this does not require registration in most countries. There's no camera attached to it, and it's less than 250 grams, so most countries will not require you to register this particular aircraft, which is another good thing about it. Now, it has flybar stability, flybarless stability. What does that mean, folks? On older helicopters, they had a device that used centripetal force or centripetal acceleration to automatically maintain stabilization. That was the old way of doing it. The new way of doing it, folks, these days, this has built-in gyros and built-in accelerometers, very micro gyros and micro accelerometers that measure any deviation of pitch, roll, also any accelerations from, say, gusts of wind, and will automatically maintain stability of the aircraft via electronics instead of a mechanical means such as a flybar helicopter. That's becoming more or less standard. I'm seeing more on helicopters these days, but that makes it also very easy to fly by beginner pilots, in that this particular aircraft is stabilized from, if it tries to roll over or flip over, it will automatically compensate to level itself. Especially if it gets hit by gusts of wind, it will also do the same, trying to maintain a stable hover. Although it cannot automatically hover in place horizontally. You're going to have to manually fly that. But it will try to maintain a horizontal position automatically if you let go of the sticks on the controller. And how is it done? How does it do these controls? Well, it has a swashplate, folks. That's this gadget right here that automatically changes the pitch of the blades as they're spinning through their 360-degree rotation. And say if it wants to pitch to the left, this blade will, or if you want the helicopter to roll to the right, in this case, the blade, as a switch moves by the left side, will increase pitch, while the blade on the right side will decrease pitch, increasing lift on that side of the helicopter and decreasing on that side of the helicopter. So that's how a swashplate works. However, this does not have swashplate control of cyclic, or wait, I'm sorry. It has cyclic control for those pitch and roll controls, but doesn't have collective control. Collective means it would change the pitch of the blades both throughout the 360 degrees, and that's used for increasing the lift to raise or lower the helicopter. But that does not have, this helicopter does not have that capability. Instead, elevation of the helicopter is controlled by increasing the speed of the motor and decreasing the speed of the motor. That's a little trade-off there to keep the drone simple and reduce the cost of the helicopter. I'm sorry, I said drone, didn't I? Okay, one other thing this has, it has altitude hold control. And what that means is you don't have to mess around with the throttle to maintain an altitude. Once you're in the air, if you let go of the throttle stick, it will automatically maintain that altitude for you. So you don't have to mess around, because other helicopters don't have altitude hold control. You got to do a lot of adjustments of the throttle to try to maintain that altitude. This one will automatically do it by itself. It has a built-in barometer, pressure sensor, which air pressure sensor, which uses the information from that sensor to automatically maintain the altitude of the drone. It does have one key takeoff and landing capability, which means you press this button here and it will automatically take off and maintain a hover at about 1 meter in height. And if you want it to automatically land, you just press that button again and the drone, or the helicopter, will automatically descend and land itself. It is powered by an 8520 motor. At this point, let's take off the hood here to show the insides here, the underside, inside of the helicopter. But it has 8520 motor. It's a plug-in motor, so that you should be able to easily replace this motor if it burns out. Similarly, this tail boom motor is a 6520, I believe. No, 615 motor. But this supposedly comes out too for easy replacement, although I haven't tried it yet, and I'm not going to until I fly this particular drone to see how that replacement is done. It is powered by a 3.7 volt 400 milliampere hour battery, as you see here, and that should provide it up to 16 minutes of flight time. Now, most of you have seen me review the Eachine E129, and that is a very similar helicopter to this particular helicopter. However, there are some differences, and I'm going to try to show them to you here. Pulling off the top, first off, we have a different flight control board on both of these here. This one seems to have something set up for Wi-Fi. I believe they were planning to put Wi-Fi FPV on it, which they never did, but it has a Wi-Fi port right there for this particular helicopter. Additionally, there's a lot of minor differences. It looks very similar, but there are minor differences in parts throughout the helicopter, such as this tail motor. You know, it's a different design than what's on this particular one. How the rotor head is attached to the mast here is different, and we got screws on this one, and this one we don't seem to have screws. And what I'm trying to say is, folks, there's, you know, although it looks very similar, I don't think these parts are interchangeable between the two. Even the main gear on the off the main rotor blade here is a slightly larger in diameter than what is on the Eachine version of this. So, you know, you can't even change that either. So, again, very small design differences between the two, such that you really can't interchange the parts between the two. I wouldn't recommend doing that. This includes the battery too, by the way. The batteries are very similar, both similar in shape, but the Eachine one is slightly smaller in dimensions, although it has, I believe it's the same. No, I think this battery is bigger in this. Yeah, it's a bigger battery in here. I can see it. So, but both of these are charged via this micro USB port here, if you can see it there. But again, the difference is between the two, there's these little bumps on the top here that prevents you from sliding it any further. It actually holds them in place here. So again, these cannot be interchanged. The batteries cannot be interchanged between the two. And also, I think the polarity is different too. I tried using the chargers from this one here, the K127 with E129 battery, and didn't want to charge this particular battery. So that tells me polarity is probably different too. So I would not recommend trying to plug this into that, you know, the Eachine battery into the WL Toys helicopter, because you probably have problems there. XK helicopter, I'm sorry. So what else did I want to mention here? Okay, mention the battery. Let's mention this. Let's talk about this charger. It comes with a charger, of course, but do not try to charge, even though this has a micro USB port on the battery, do not try to charge this with a regular micro USB cable. Instead, use this charger, and the reason being, this charger has a built-in detector here that detects when this battery is fully charged, and will cut off the charge going to the battery. If you try to use a regular micro USB cable with this battery, you will likely overcharge it and damage the battery. So I don't recommend you do. In other words, use the battery charger that's provided with the helicopter to charge the battery. So let's go over what you get in the box. You get the instruction manual. It's in Chinese and English. It's very basic, but if you watch my video, you should be able to see how to get this into the air. You get the helicopter. You get 1, 2, or 3 batteries, depending on which package you order. If you want spare batteries, I recommend ordering them at the time of purchase, because it'll be difficult to have these shipped separately without the drone because of shipping restrictions. You get the battery charger. You get a pack full of spare parts, including another main gear, and a spare set of blades, along with tools to change parts on the drone. And you get the controller. Now, the controller also is different than the controller that comes with the Eachine version of this helicopter. In fact, it is powered by 6 batteries, 6 AA batteries instead of 4. That's the thing, the WL Toys seems to always provide too much power for their transmitters. But this should give it plenty of range. However, keep in mind, I would not, this thing will get very hard to see as you get out to about 70, 80 meters. So I wouldn't try to see how far this will fly, because you will lose sight of it easily. And this does not have a GPS to bring it back automatically. So keep this drone within sight at all times, folks, or this helicopter within sight at all times. But let's go over the buttons on the controller. This button here is for rates. If you want to fly faster or slower, you press this button here. And let me mention real quickly, comparison in flight performance between this and the Eachine version is very similar, except in high rate. When you go to high rate, the yaw on this is quite a bit slower than what you get with the yaw on the Eachine version. The Eachine version is actually kind of an insane yaw. It's too fast, even for advanced pilots, I think. This is more sensible yaw rate in high. So that's the one difference that I saw between the flight performance of the two. Additional things, the button on the right here is for automatic takeoff and landing. There are also 2 other buttons here that do nothing, just let you know. And the buttons on the controller itself, this is, actually I believe it is throttle trim, along with yaw trim, pitch trim, and roll trim, along with controls for throttle, up and down throttle, left or right yaw or rotating, and forward, back pitch, and left and right roll. So that's the transmitter. So that is the XK K127. Actually, WL Toys does own XK, so when I say WL Toys, there's reason. But let's take this helicopter out into the field and see how it flies. Actually, I'm going to probably start downstairs in my basement, and then we'll take it out in the field and see how it flies. So hope you enjoy these flights. Okay, the first thing we need to do is start up this helicopter, and again, we're going to trim this up indoors. It's important to trim this indoors for your first flight, in that if you go outdoors, the wind is going to affect that trim. Okay, you want to have a windless day or without any wind to trim this up. Actually, I pushed that battery in too far. We're not ready to fire this up yet. But again, trim the helicopter indoors without any wind. And then take it outdoors for your flying. So to start this up, we need to turn on the helicopter by pressing the battery in until it connects, and it's connected now. And put the helicopter on a flat level surface. Then turn on the transmitter and connect the transmitter. Notice the helicopter's lights blinking rapidly, and so is the transmitter light blinking rapidly. But to connect the transmitter to the drone or the helicopter, move the throttle stick up and then down. And now we have a solid light on the controller and a solid light on the helicopter, telling us that the helicopter is connected to the transmitter. Now to take off, all we got to do is press this button here one time, and it takes off. And we notice we have some forward drift. Let's go up a bit higher. We have some forward drift, quite a bit forward drift, and some left drift. Okay, to counter the forward drift, we need to trim it. And the way we're going to do that is this trim button here, we're going to pull back repeatedly until that forward drifting stops. And it's drifting to the left too, folks. We've got to counter that by, let me take it up a little bit higher, by pushing this button here to the right. Okay, let's bring it back so you can see it. See if that drifting has stopped. No, it has not. So back, back, back. Okay, I think I got it now. Back, back, and right. And we're pretty much trimmed up. Okay, so let's fly it around indoors here. Relatively easy to fly, but I recommend taking this one outdoors. It does have the ability to fly outdoors very well. Okay, it has good yaw rate and good pitch rate, especially in high, when you set it to high rate. Notice my tomatoes are still indoors here. I'm getting ready to transplant them outdoors here, folks, shortly. But let's see what the yaw rate is on this. Okay, this is low yaw rate. Let's go to high, and that's high yaw rate. Again, on the Eachine version, this spins very rapidly, but this is a more controllable yaw rate, especially in high rate. But since we're indoors, I'm going back to low. And right now, come on. That's the thing about barometer controlled helicopters and drones, especially when you're flying them indoors. They like to get sucked up in the ceiling. I don't know what that is about the barometer. You go outdoors, it's not a problem, but something about pressure changes as you get closer to the ceiling with these. So, okay, so it's flying nicely. Let's see, we're taking around the pole here, around the indoor flight test facility here at Quadcopter 101. Okay, trying to lift, right, forward, back. Everything's working on this. So we should now be able to take this outdoors, folks. So get ready. We'll do an automatic landing of this by pressing the landing button here. Try to get it on the pad. And there you go. That's the automatic landing. So that's the indoor flight. Now let's take it outdoors and see what it really can do, folks. I'm going to recharge that battery, get a full battery so we can also test what the flight time of this helicopter is. So hold on, folks, while we do that. Good morning, Quadcopter 101 here, and welcome to the flight test, the outdoor flight test of the K127. Okay, to fire this up, all we need to do is push in the battery, and then we notice the light flashing on the helicopter. Keep saying drone, it's a helicopter. And we turn on the transmitter, lights flashing here, and we bind it by going up and down on the throttle. Now this is connected to the helicopter. Now all we need to do is press this takeoff button and fly it. Now we do have a little bit of a breeze here today. Not too much, but let's take it up a bit higher. Showing up close. Okay. Now this is low rate. Even with a little breeze here, it's flying well. Now one thing about this helicopter, folks, the throttle. It is a beginner's, and this throttle is very nerfed. Okay, watch, I give it full throttle, and it goes up slowly, and inversely, when I reduce the throttle, it comes down slowly. Okay, now what does that mean? That means for you beginner flyers, do not send this up high. Okay, you will lose your orientation on that, and you're going to try to bring it back down to the earth, and it'll take forever to get back down if you send it up real high. So I recommend keeping it below house level, especially if you're flying in your yard. Don't go above the house. Now the wind is picking up a bit. I am going to increase the rate by pressing this button here. Here are the two beeps. Now this is going to fly a lot faster, folks, and turn a lot faster, as you see there. So now this is for intermediate flyers when you go to higher rate, and it works well in the wind when you're flying in the wind. Now let's go around the yard, or the cul-de-sac here. Coming back. See how it stops on a dime with that higher rate. Now again, the what was the other version? The Eachine version of this. In this high rate, when you try to fly it, the yaw rate was just way too much, and most people just wouldn't be able to control it with a high yaw rate. But this yaw rate is just perfect, okay, for the high rate, especially for windy days. So it's more controllable. Let's go around the cul-de-sac again, coming around, going around the neighborhood, and coming back full speed. And into the house. Bounced off the house there. So, oh wow. You know, I'm not as good a helicopter pilot as a drone pilot. Actually, a lot of people that fly helicopters are laughing at me right now because they're saying, that's not a helicopter, you know, it doesn't have collective control, and you're not flying 3D. And yeah, I can't fly 3D, folks. And you can't fly 3D, by the way, with this particular helicopter because it doesn't have that true collective control where you can go inverse pitch on the blades. This one doesn't have that capability. It's just up and down only. So let's bring it in close again. Let's check. Okay, that trim's still working out relatively well from what I did yesterday, flying indoors. So, okay, let's try some tricks here with this. Namely, I already did a trick here. I kept it in the air after hitting the house, but let's fly around the house once. or my front porch, going up a bit higher, and a slalom along the porch and the bird poop on my porch. I just noticed. I got to clean that up. Coming back down, going around, going there, and going out on. Okay, for the remainder of the flight, I am just going to sit right here. No, I won't. Let's go out in the grass. I was going to sit there on the porch, but no. We want to get up close to this thing while it's flying. But going nice. Now, again, for you beginners, you are going to need to learn stick control. So this is back, forward, right slip, left slip. And again, on the left stick is yaw, or rotation, and throttle, up and down. So, you know, as a beginner, it's easiest if you keep the back end of the helicopter pointed toward you like this, and then you can, you know, your right stick, left stick, back, and forward is proportional or directly related to the way your orientation on the helicopter. It gets difficult if you're pointed nose in like this, because people say the controls reverse, and they do, but the way I envision it is, I imagine myself being in the helicopter, and that way I keep orientation on which way to turn. You know, you just got to use a little bit of imagination. Another trick is, if you're far enough away that you can't determine which way the helicopter or drone is pointed, just push forward, and if it's moving left, turn left until the movement stops and it'll come back to you. Similarly, if you push forward and notice moving right, just turn right and it'll come back toward you until the movement stops. You turn right. Just a quick way to maintain orientation on the helicopter. This is actually flying nicely, folks. Let's do some funnels with it. And again, this supposedly has a 16-minute flight time. The Eachine version, Eachine had a 15-minute flight time, so similar flight times. Although this has a bigger battery, so I would have expected, or it seems to be bigger. I can't remember what the milliampere hour was on the Eachine. I'd have to look it up. It's climbing. Hit some wind there, and now notice I'm giving a full down throttle, and it's taking forever to get back down. So again, be careful, folks, especially you beginners. If you send it up high, you might have a hard time coming back down again. So in that case, if you get hit with a gust of wind while you're way up high there, you might lose this helicopter. So keep it down below level of the houses. So if it does go wacky on you, or if you lose control on it, you won't lose it unless it ends up on your neighbor's roof. And that happens too, by the way. That's happened to me several times, especially back in California. So, yeah, you folks out there, tell me your stories of your drones ending up on neighbors' roofs or in your yards. Coming back. Zoom. Yeah, this is actually a nifty little drone, this XK version. Again, especially like the high rate on this as compared to the Eachine. Eachine is uncontrollable in my opinion, almost uncontrollable in high rate, but this one's nice, sporty, and controllable, not insane yaw. And it's long flyer. Now, again, this supposedly has a range out to about 150, 200 meters. You are not going to be able to see this farther than 60, 70 meters, folks. So that's way overkill. Not needed, in other words. So they could have probably gotten away with reducing some of these batteries in here, 6 batteries. But then again, the charge of those batteries should last a long time there, since you got 6 of them in there providing power. There we go, up again high. Gave it too much throttle, and then it takes forever to come back down again. Nice little helicopter. By the way, the wind stopped. There's where that trim indoors comes into play. trimming this up indoors without wind. You can, here, let's bring it back toward me, tilting it back. But it's holding its position up there nicely. Let's see if I can get a thumbnail of it up in the sky. Okay. Okay, the sun's starting to peek out from behind the clouds finally. We had a lot of rain up here in Erie for the past few days. It's been cold too. But that rain has stopped. The wind has stopped. It was real windy too. So I'm not flying my helicopter in my front yard. Why not? Nice. And for those of you wondering where I've been for the past month, I had a family emergency crop up that I had to take care of. Unfortunately, a family member passed away. And that's where I've been. But I'm back now. Okay, going out in the street now. Coming in, coming in. Zoom. Actually, I kind of like this one. This is a fun little helicopter. I don't think I'm going to get rid of this one. This is fun. Even though it's got altitude hold, it's quite maneuverable and fun to fly. I'm going to do some slaloms with this. Going through the trees. Wind's hitting it. Wind's hitting it. Wind's a lot of wind over there. Let's stay in the front yard. Less wind over here. Zoom, zoom, zoom. 127. Fun. You know, the past couple years, 1 2 years here, these helicopters have gotten really good. Before they weren't so hot, or they were difficult to fly. Now, adding these Flybarless ones, and they finally putting in stabilization systems, make it easy for beginners and enjoyable actually to fly. Used to have a lot of sport drones that were fun to fly, and drones have gotten boring these days. Just too stable to fly. You want to have a little bit of nimbleness like this, so you can do some sport flying. Now the next thing is, I need to put some type of flip control on this. I know they could do it with this one. Add a flip feature with the 127. Something where you put in the cyclic so that it'll put extreme cyclic, so it'll roll or flip. You know, extreme left. That's probably coming. That's probably in the works, folks. I can see that. Just a flip feature, not inverted. Well, maybe I'd invert it too, but 6G controlled inverted, so that beginners can do it. So the 127, not too bad. Somewhat fun. Just gonna hover it for a bit. Bring it in closer so you can see it. Left roll, left roll, left roll. Going up a bit higher. So, fun little helicopter. And a long flyer. I don't know how long we've been flying, but it's getting up there. Well, it was real windy this morning and then just stopped. So I said, I'm going to come out here and fly. Cool, huh? This is a fun one. Funnels, going down the funnel, going down the funnel and up. How do you do funnels, folks? You go diagonally on the sticks, both sticks, like this. That's how you do a funnel. And then give it throttle so it don't crash. Okay. Now when it's doing those funnels, it might start to descend. And when it does, just stop the funnel and give it a little more throttle. It's starting getting close to the ground. That works the same for drones, by the way. You just go diagonally like that, and you can do funnels. Those are stabilized drones, I mean. So let's just fly it around the yard. Bring it back down. Too high. Too high. Too high. Fun thing. Coming back down. And zipping. More funnels. Coming back down, huh? I'm breaking my rule by going above house height, but here we come back down. Again, try to keep it below the houses, the height of the houses, so you don't lose it, folks. So, let me go around my tree there. Coming back toward us. And stop it there. And yeah, it's been flying close to, well, there we go. That's its flight time, finally. I was wondering when this thing was going to die. So that's the K127 from XK. Nice little helicopter. Hope you enjoyed this flight. It's Quadcopter 101, signing out. Hi, Quadcopter 101 here again. Hey, if you want to get your own shout out in one of my future videos, make sure you subscribe to my channel. It's real simple. Just go to my channel page and click on that subscribe. And also make sure to click that bell button right next to the subscribe button. That way you get notified when I release a brand new video immediately and give you a chance to get that first shout out. So give it a try, folks.